Hi, this is John Rowell from the Rowell Report. Today is Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025, and here's a follow-up report to my earlier report regarding the Russian hacker information that stated 1.7 million Ukrainian casualties. Supposedly, the Russian hackers had access a Ukrainian um, general office or general staff database for the Ukrainian military and had found that there was 1.7 million losses between killed and missing. Anyway, I just wanted to follow up that report with doing a little deduction and trying to come up with our own figure. So we won't get to an actual figure, but we can put out some numbers and we can use a little common sense and see if we can get an approximate number. So anyway, in July of 2022, a few months after the start of the special military operation, the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, Alexei Reznikov, the defense minister, put out the total number of active military as 700,000. So within those months, there certainly had been Ukrainian casualties, but it's hard to know exactly how many there were. Here is the person who put out that number. So I was looking at different recruitment numbers per month since February 2022. We know that at the start of the conflict, there was a huge rush of Ukrainians who signed up to the military, and the numbers decreased over time. And at some point, the Ukrainian military, in order um, to get to their quotas, began to kidnap people off the street. So anyway, I found numbers which stated an average of 5,000 per month, which was on the low end, and 30,000 per month on the high end. Um, so anyway, just a small diversion from the topic. We can see that there's a U.S. Army soldier training Ukrainian soldiers. This is 2011 when President Obama was um, in office. So we know that between President Obama, President Trump, his first term, and actually since 1995, Ukraine was treated as the de facto member of NATO. So they were actively recruiting and pushing to mobilize and to build their military strength because they knew that they would eventually get into an armed conflict with Russia. So anyway, there is an article here in The Economist that talks about Ukraine bringing in foreign soldiers. You can see someone here who is obviously not Ukrainian. And in this article, it's mentioning about an average of 27,000 per month, which was lower than the Russia recruitment. In any case, here is the website of the foreign legionaries, foreign troops in Ukraine. So anyway, you go down and see that there's quite a promotion here, and it's easy to sign up. And they're looking for people between 18 to 60 years old with experience, relevant experience. So, how does an 18-year-old get relevant experience? I think if you're 18 years old and you have a passport and you sign up, they will take you. So, anyway, I'm sure that they're taking just about anybody and everybody as long as they can walk and talk. But anyway, if we go back to the statistics here, we have a monthly average of 27,000 per month. Let's just take that as a unofficial number. And since the start of this special military operation, February of 2022 to August, that's 42 months. And if you multiply 42 by 27,000, we get a total of 1,134,000. So that is just the numbers that they have recruited and brought into their military, either willingly or unwillingly. And so if we take that initial number, We don't really know what the official number was because, and at the start of the special military operation, we know that a portion of the Ukrainian military bolted and joined the Russian military because they were ethnic Russian and didn't want to fight against Russia. So we know that the number initially was well over a million. So let's say that 400,000, maybe 40% bolted. It's hard to say, but anyway, possibly less than that. So let's say they started at 800,000. That's a possibility, but let's just take that 700,000 number from July 2022 and let's put in there that number of recruited. 1,134,000. We get a grand total of 1,834,000. So that's how many should be in the Ukraine military. And there is a report put out here. This is something that takes us in a slightly different direction, but it's called the Jamestown Foundation and said that Ukraine has a total strength, a military strength of 2.2 million. So 900,000 active personnel, 1.3 million reservists. Do you think they're going to have reservists on the sidelines if their front line is collapsing in eastern Ukraine? I don't think so. So anyway, these numbers are probably, uh, pie in the sky. So anyway, I would just ignore them. But anyway, we know for sure if we go back to this guy that in July of 2022, this was the number of active. So let's just say you're in a war, your reservists become active. Why would they leave them on the sidelines? Plus, we know that they've had trouble doing troop rotations. The troops that are on the front line haven't been able to leave. So you're going to tell me that you have your soldiers on the front line and there isn't anyone to replace them. So if those reservists were on the sidelines, wouldn't they be put in for the act? For those who are fighting on the front lines? I think they would be. So I think a lot of these numbers are wishful. It could be that some of these soldiers are just on paper because the Western countries like the U.S. and NATO are paying salaries for soldiers, and since the US and the NATO countries don't know who's actually just a paper soldier and who's a real soldier, they could be collecting salaries for a lot of people. But if we go back to the real number, I think we can say that this active number was the number that was on the front line fighting, the 700,000. And if you take that over 1 million that were recruited, either willingly or forcibly, we get a total of almost 2 million. So if we take that total of 1,834,000, the initial number plus the recruited, and we can take the current troop strength of what's purported to be 880,000, that's from January 2025. We see that there is a difference of almost a million. So um, whenever we start talking about Ukrainian troop losses, we have to take a couple of things into account. First, that the Ukraine military recruiters have been kidnapping people off the streets, off of city buses, out of concerts, out of restaurants, out of gyms, out of all kinds of places. And so, and we also know that because several fathers of recruited sons who went out, who were recruited, I mean, not who recruited, mobilized, forcibly mobilized, sent to the front line, later took out their anger on a particular recruiter or politician. So anyway, we know that that whole forcibly mobilized situation's going on. Now, if you had the active military and you had the reservists, and you couldn't replace the troops on the front line because there wasn't anyone to replace them. Do you think that there was actually any reservist just sitting at home, twiddling his thumbs, waiting to enter into the conflict? I don't think so. So I think the pie in the sky numbers about the Ukrainian military, about their 2.2 million strength, is non-existent. Um, and we could take some approximate numbers. This almost 2 million between initial troop strength and the recruited or mobilized, and we have the current troop strength. That was 880,000 supposedly in January. I bet there's less now. So we could be looking at over a million Ukrainian troops that have casualties, either killed or permanently wounded. I mean, removed from the active ranks of soldiers because of amputations or some other uh, health issue. So, anyway, I wanted to take this topic from a little bit different angle, and there's a lot of information out there that points in different directions. But like I say, if they had so many reservists just sitting at home, twiddling their thumbs, waiting to enter into the action, why would they be mobilizing people off of city buses, off of city streets, out of supermarkets, out of theaters, out of concerts, out of uh, gymnasiums, out of all kinds of places to take them to the front lines. So we're looking at huge losses on the Ukrainian side, no matter which way you cut it. Anyway, that was my report for today. Thank you for joining me. And if you like this report and like the information I have on my channel, feel free to subscribe and sign up, and look forward to future videos. Take care.